Uday Hussein was born on the 18th of June 1964, his dad being Saddam Hussein, who couldn't even see Uday being born because he was in jail for plotting an assassination. While Uday was a baby, the Ba'ath Party members, a group which Saddam would join in 1968, was to reportedly sneak hidden messages in Uday's diapers to Saddam to read in jail, once Uday and his mother were there. 16th of July 1979, that very same man who was caught plotting an assassination was sworn into office, being the 5th official president of Iraq, while Uday was only the age of 15. You would think that would be a normal presidency. Saddam would get 4 to 8 years in office and leave. But no, Saddam was here to stay. And he would spoil Uday so much that he could practically do anything and ask for anything, and the response would always be yes, under fear that Saddam would do something to them if they denied. Keep in mind, Saddam at this point was one of the most dangerous dictators the Middle East has ever seen. He would have designer clothes, have a bunch of money, and throw parties pretty much all the time, under Saddam's wallet. Uday would even force people who wore similar clothing brands to him to remove it immediately and never use it again. Some of these people didn't even know who Uday was. Uday would watch his father torture people throughout his early stages of life and enjoy it. He would even try to copy his father and somehow become even worse. Uday wasn't your average spoiled son of a leader. He was a criminal. Uday would set up parties and invite a bunch of women to them. You'd think he would just party with them, you know, like an average person. It's a party, right? No, Uday would pick the women he finds most attractive and force them to have sex with him. His bodyguards would even help him with his sick urges. They obviously couldn't say no, or they would have to pay his or Saddam's consequences. In the year 1983, Uday wanted to dance with a wife of an army officer, but the husband declined. Uday would then beat the man so badly he fell unconscious and died later of his injuries. There was also another instance where an army officer forgot to salute Uday, and being Uday Hussein, he shot and killed the man, leaving him dead. In 1984, Saddam Hussein would appoint Uday to be the chairman of the Iraqi Olympic Committee and the Iraq Football Association. You see, this wasn't your average chairman. Uday tortured athletes who failed to win or played bad. Uday's former body double spoke out and said this, and I quote, "The word that defines him is sadistic. I think Saddam Hussein was more human than Uday. The Olympic Committee was not a sports center. It was Uday's world." He would also have some moments where he seemed pretty chill. You know, that's until he whooped out his AK-47 and shot randomly and recklessly around the room, ignoring the fact that there was many people in that room. On September 1987, Uday Hussein got a body double. This individual was a person in Uday's old school class named Latif Lahia. As he remembered, this person looked very similar to himself. He actually pulled Latif out the Iran-Iraq war just to ask him to be his body double. Knowing Uday, no would not be an acceptable answer, as he knew the severe consequences he or Saddam would give him if he refused. So he asked him, "Do I have a choice?" Uday responded, assuring him it's entirely up to him if he said yes or no, and nothing bad will happen if he declined. Latif, taking his word, kindly declined the offer, but Uday, being Uday, put him in prison. This wasn't just an ordinary prison though. This prison was owned by the most powerful man in the Middle East at the time, Saddam Hussein. This prison was very small and the walls were painted strong red and had lights which never turned off. Around 7 days later, no sleep, only the sound of torture and screams from the other prisoners, Uday came back and said, "You will be my body double or I will rape your sisters." Latif, being a kind-hearted man, obviously agreed and then became Uday Hussein's body double. While this was happening, Hamid, Saddam's personal secretary, called Latif's family telling them he had died in service. Latif had to be inspected by Saddam and fortunately got approved by Saddam himself. He said, "Allah gave me 2 sons and now I have 3. Just never make me angry." Now picture this. You're on your honeymoon relaxing to a swimming pool with your wife that you've only been married to for less than a day. You see Uday Hussein on the other side. He takes your wife. Others around Uday are begging him to stop, including Latif. He takes Latif too. This man will go on to rape your wife and then force Latif to listen to the whole thing. She then jumps out the window and unfortunately kills herself. Yes, Uday Hussein actually did this and had the audacity to bring in her father. His father obviously went in a rage because her daughter was raped and killed herself. In response, her father spat in his mouth. Uday would then force Latif to kill him. Latif, obviously being a good man, didn't want to kill him, so he got a knife and slit his own wrist. Uday, being the disgusting man he is, got so angry and killed the father himself. Unfortunately for Latif, Uday brought him back to intense medical care and made sure he would never quit his job, being his body double of course. Latif would then get false accusations on him that he slept with one of Uday's girls at the party consensually. He obviously never did, but Uday didn't believe him and sent him to be tortured for 21 goddamn days. Uday for once legitimately let Latif recover with his family. Latif also had plans to escape, which he shared with his family. Unfortunately, the day that he was going to escape, he was actually invited to a party by Uday. Uday Hussein would then greet him, shouting, "The time has come, the time has come," with an iron rod. Latif's first thought was that he knew the plans he was going to escape, so he ran. First going into an elevator, Uday would manage to shoot him on the shoulder, but he didn't stop running and drove off in a car while bleeding heavily with gunshot wounds. Fortunately, he looked exactly like Uday, so it was extremely easy for him to cross the border to seek refuge in Turkey. Out of rage, Uday killed Latif's father. Uday Hussein's press secretary also managed to escape Iraq too, and then released life-damaging information going from all his routes, and a couple people he did it to were the age of 12 at the age of 30. That's an 18-year-old difference, a fully grown adult. Uday would also use a literal Iron Maiden on people who disliked him. I'm not even joking, they used that stuff in medieval times. He also stole approximately 1,200 luxury vehicles, including a Rolls-Royce Corniche valued around $200,000. He also caught soldiers and tortured them. He also, cause he felt like it, had half of the prisoners murdered. There were a bunch of great individuals who weren't killed though. Uday thought for fun he would kill a poor individual by sticking an electric drill through his skull, then he would literally leave the dead bodies to rot next to the other soldiers. There are also cases where he R-worded 14-year-olds and cases where he would kidnap and R-word random brides he found on the streets after having a wedding. There are too many other crimes that Uday has committed. My video would be hours long if I named them all, so I'm just gonna leave Count Dankula's video in the description if you want to learn more. There's good news and bad news here. Luckily, Uday Hussein was almost killed in 1996 by assassins and then was shot 8 times. The bad news is he didn't die from it. Yes, he was in severe condition, but the torture and his evil ways would still continue. While this was all happening, Saddam did nothing, which makes him also guilty in these situations, as he's literally the leader of Iraq and he is his father. Now, probably the only good thing about this goddamn video. George W. Bush announced war on Saddam Hussein and the most wanted men there. One of these men was Uday. Now, the USA had given all these men on the following cards an ultimatum to leave Iraq immediately within 48 hours and no one will get hurt, but they just couldn't do that. So the 20th of March 2003, American, Danish, British, Australian and Polish forces moved into Iraq to take out these dangerous people. So they went into hideout to hide from the troops. Luckily though, they found them in a villa. The people in the villa were Uday Hussein, Qusay Hussein, Qusay's son and a bodyguard. The troops obviously didn't want Saddam Hussein's relatives to escape, so they charged the building with a total of 200 troops. The troops told the men to come out immediately and safely, but again, this was Saddam's children, so what do you think they were gonna do? A. Come out immediately with their hands up. B. Say no. Or C. Just start a 4-hour-long shoot-off. If you picked C, you're right. They used various weapons such as AK-47s, machine guns and grenades. Now, this is probably the best part of the story. The troops were tired of losing men and ammo, so they blowed up the building with missiles and bashed it with helicopters. This would of course kill Uday, Qusay and the others in the building, and finally putting an end to their endless torture. Okay, I'm gonna end this video off now. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.